Welcome back to our retrospective history on the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Today, we look at modern-era Sonic games. Now, how could a series that got it so right at the beginning get it so wrong time and time again after so many years?
All they needed was more Knuckles!
We go back to our expert, Dr. Miles Prower.
Miles per hour.
Shut up! Sonic's initial run on his rival console showed promise. Ports of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 were released on the GameCube, followed shortly by Sonic Heroes in 2003. All the while, 2D platformers reminiscent of the Genesis age were being released for the Game Boy Advance. It seemed like Sonic had really found its stride in the 3D world alongside Mario, now that Sega didn't have to compete in the console arena. But it wasn't long before the quality of the games began to fall. Probably the earliest sign of waning quality was the release of Shadow the Hedgehog in 2005. A Sonic game where you go around shooting guns and driving motorcycles? Sonic's about going fast. How are you supposed to aim and run like that at the same time? It was ridiculous. A handful of racing games and compilations of Golden Era games for each of the major consoles wrapped up that generation, but the worst was still to come.
It seems like Sonic's run in the most recent generation of gaming, that of the Wii, PS3, and Xbox 360, can be characterized by three main categories. The main series of 3D platformers that sought to recapture Sonic's lost charm, the storybook games, and the spin-off games.
Indeed.
Thank you.
The Nintendo Wii has been responsible for some of the worst Sonic games ever released. The storybook games known as Sonic and the Secret Rings and Sonic and the Black Knight, both of which force players into auto-run stages along preset rails.
Go ahead and say it.
They were okay.
Not enough Knuckles!
Continue.
The spin-offs have mostly consisted of various racing and sports games. The worst of all is that sin against nature known as Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. How is that an entire series? Mario and Sonic, finally, regularly, in games together. That's like a 90s kid's wet dream. And they're relegated to Olympic-themed mini-games? Shame on you, Nintendo. Shame on you. God, just saying that name leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Please stick to the facts, Dr. Prower.
Alright? The fact is, those games suck!
They were okay.
Should have been Mario and Knuckles at the Olympic Games.
And finally, we have the main series. These games have sought desperately to return to the style of the Golden Era, with limited success. The first attempt was the 2006 release, simply titled Sonic the Hedgehog. Unfortunately, the production of the game was rushed in order to coincide with the release of the Sony PlayStation 3. And oh my, did the game suffer the consequences. Easily one of the glitchiest games that decade. Personally, I'm amazed this didn't end Sonic's career right then and there. This and all later main series releases up to the present day, namely Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Sonic 4, and Sonic Generations, attempted to appeal to classic and modern fans by combining classic 2D platforming, modern 3D platforming, and visual depth, with a lot of gimmicks including hack-and-slash style fighting, new powers, and a variety of quest-like missions. Unfortunately for classic Sonic fans, the recent games have paled in comparison to those of the golden age of Sonic's run. This is, in part, due to changes in technology, effectively moving Sonic from fast-paced 2D platforming to extremely fast-paced 3D platforming has proven to be a difficult challenge, to say the least. The other cringe-inducing aspect of the games has been a combination of poor writing, voice acting, and, in my ever-humble opinion, changes to the Sonic characters and universe, including a greatly expanded cast of characters and the mind-boggling move to make Sonic's world more and more like our own, something which seems bizarre to anyone who grew up playing the Genesis games. But these problems all began before the fall of Sega, showing that the real culprit isn't the change from the Sega consoles to other systems, but with Sonic Team itself. In fact, some wonder if these changes may have actually played a part in Sonic's downfall. Certainly the modern Sonic fan growing up with these games doesn't mind, but without such a drastic overhaul, perhaps more of those classic gamers would have stayed on board. Mario didn't make such dramatic changes to the ideas and overall aesthetic when he switched to 3D platforming, and it paid off for Nintendo.
While these are reasonable complaints, to the Sonic obsessive, these changes are hardly noticeable. To him, the games are just as good as they've always been. It's a shame to see so much denial in a gamer.
I'm not in denial. These games are awesome.
Of course they are.
So good.
Still, the developers haven't been completely blind to this problem. Recent releases have included Sonic 4, which sought to continue the apparent story of the first 3 games and return to a 2D style with a 3D-esque depth, and Sonic Generations, which blended classic Genesis-era Sonic and modern Sonic together to create remastered versions of levels and bosses from throughout Sonic's history. Even with the purely 2D games, like Sonic 4, there is still an attempt at appealing to modern generation gamers by including the homing attack. They have also attempted to broaden their horizons with new types of games to counter the failings of their platformers, games such as Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, a DS title that introduced Sonic to the world of RPGs.
Perhaps these recent changes are a sign that Sonic Team is beginning to listen to their fans. Only time will tell if both classic and modern era fans can continue to be catered to simultaneously, or if their favorite styles aren't better suited for separate games. But on the other hand, it seems like some fans will never falter. They will continue to buy and play each and every Sonic game that's released, no matter how terrible it is. The gamers who refuse to acknowledge these problems, or perhaps are entirely unaware of them, are the die-hard fans known as the Sonic Obsessives.
So when are you gonna make a Knuckles one of these? He's got a fan base too, you know?
And that's a fact I'm trying very hard to forget. For the Gaming Wildlife Foundation, my name is Master Charles Davenant Bates. Good night.